all of the anger from all those years just boil over. Now, one of the meanest things you can do, and then after laughing for a bit, he responded with, "Let me show you what really matters." Whatever I expected him to say, it wasn't that. Have you ever gotten your head just ripped off by a boss or a coach, and it was the best thing that could have happened? That's the story I want to tell you today. How I was permanently changed from a perfectly placed lecture. But let me back up. Summertime, to me, is all about the smells. Cut grass, snow cones, sprinklers, rain, sunscreen, chlorine, pools. But my personal favorite? Oh yeah, baby. A fresh can of tennis balls. I don't care if it's straight chemicals, I love it. Recently I was on a walk with my family and I got a whiff of those fuzzy yellow balls. I knew I had to tell this story. Every summer, instead of doing swim team like everybody else, because I take to water like a cat strapped to a Greyhound bus, I did tennis. There's only two things you need to know. One, I loved tennis so much. Two, I sucked at it so bad. And not just like 1 year of it. I'm talking every year for several years in a row, terrible, and simultaneously loving it. I remember at some point I picked up the habit of bouncing my racket on the court whenever I would miss a shot or be angry about something. I was missing more shots than I was making, so it was a lot. And at some point I realized that I had actually split my racket open near the top of the frame. So I went to my mom and said, "I need a new racket." And she looked me dead in the face and said, "Your coach says you're throwing your racket." So the next day my mom showed up with a used racket and said, "If you break this one, you'll have to keep using it broken." So I learned a few things. I learned to push my anger down, not throw my racket or bounce it off the ground, and say how I felt under my breath less loudly. But that is the foreshadowing, because I did not fix my anger. Let's get to the part where I get my head ripped off. Freshman year, 9th grade, I go out for the tennis team and surprise, surprise, I'm still terrible at tennis. So I start to put my heart and soul into every practice, but I start to feel the anger creep back in. Right about the time that I was sure I was making a mistake by playing tennis, our assistant coach, who we had nicknamed Dr. Feelgood, took an interest in me. I'm pretty sure he was given this nickname as a sarcastic name, because he was ready to give you a lecture at any moment. I remember being on the court and him just yelling over the match, "You're playing stupid," for everyone in the middle of a point. Thanks. He was never afraid to give a lecture or to be honest about his feelings. And I ended up loving him for it. So one day at practice, I'm having an especially bad time. Nothing I was doing was working. And I remember at some point I hit a ball and it either went flying or into the net, doesn't matter. I remember hitting a ball so badly. I said something to the effect of, "Oh, this is literally the I had a raging emo teenage fire inside me. I remember just immediately being escorted off the court onto an empty court next to us. And Dr. Feelgood just starts to let me have it. I'll never forget how he started this lecture. He looked me right in the face and said, "You think you're special." Whatever I expected him to say, it wasn't that. And I just remember snapping back and saying, "Obviously not, I suck." And each time we go back and forth, he keeps getting closer and closer. He takes one step closer to me and says, "No, you think you get to be as emotional and angry as you want and still be good at this game. You think you're special." And we start yelling back and forth for the whole team to hear. And We're both going red in the face at this moment. And now we're just inches away from each other, and I feel all of the anger from all those years just boil over. And I remember saying, I suck at tennis, so it doesn't matter. And then he laughed. And then after laughing for a bit, he finally responded with, you don't even know what game you're playing. Let me show you what really matters. He reaches in, grabs a ball, and he hands it to me and says, this ball matters. Serve it. So I take it and I serve it. I think it like hits the net, doesn't matter. Doesn't go in. And then he asked me, does that ball matter? Yeah, you said it does. He goes, no. This ball matters. Serve it. So I take it and I make sure it goes in this time. Serve it. And then he says, does that ball matter? And I'm like, yeah, it went in. This time it does. And he looks at me and says, nope. And grabs another ball. This ball matters. Serve it. And I serve it again. And then he asked me again, does that ball matter, for the third time? I remember saying, I'm gonna guess no, because you've said that every time. He said, good, you're listening, great. And then I turn to him and he says, the only ball that matters is the next one. So then he had me serve another ball, and as soon as it was done, next ball. 80 to 90 balls that fits in this. Next ball, next ball, next ball. And he ended our little session with saying, I want this to be your mantra that you say over and over and over again. The day you quit is the day that that opportunity stops. Here's the hard part for me to say. Did I immediately take this to heart and become instantly a better tennis player? No. It took me 2 years and a bunch of reminders on what I needed to be focused on and how to let go of the past. But it finally clicked in my junior year, and I have proof. I made varsity my junior year and I started playing matches that really mattered. And 3 or 4 times during every match, I would just forget what the score was. Completely. There'd be some big point, big rally back and forth, and at the end I would look around and have no clue what the score was. Whether I got the point or not didn't matter. I didn't know. I got so good at being in the present that I would just completely erase whatever had happened before and then be standing there knowing I need to call out the score because I'm going to serve and having no idea what it is. Now, one of the meanest things you can do is be winning a match and then ask your opponent, what's the score? It's embarrassing, and I think it's the biggest jerk move you can do is ask the opponent that you're beating what the score is. And it would drive people crazy. But I swear to you, I did not know what the score was. This story is not about tennis specifically. For me, this was the ultimate lesson to be present, or the way that it made sense in my brain. And now, every time I smell a new can of balls, I just hear him saying, next ball, next ball, next ball. So if you want to take something from this ridiculously emo tennis story, it's this. Whatever you're working on, if you want to be more in the present, you have to find a way of saying next, whatever the thing is you need to get better at. For me right now, I'm very unhappy with the way my painting and my art style looks. So for now, I'm just going to keep saying next painting, next painting, next painting. Thanks.